Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at a scenario where Ghana forms an empire. Today it's a Monday, so we're back on Rafafofu Geography. If you don't know what an empire is, it's just where Ghana is gonna get stronger and invade countries, and basically that. And also, usually in these empire videos, like alliances like NATO and CSTO, all like defensive alliances are disbanded, but I guess here there aren't many alliances. I guess the African Union is disbanded. So let's just get started. But before we get started, I just wanted to tell you guys to please subscribe to my main channel at Rafafofu1. That would help because my viewers from Rafafofu1 are way different from Rafafofu Geography. So please go subscribe to Rafafofu1. It's the same guy. And without further ado, let's jump right into this scenario. So the first thing that happens today is Ghana declaring war on Côte d'Ivoire. It's a French colony and its official name is Côte d'Ivoire. People call it Ivory Coast, but that's kind of racist because their name is Côte d'Ivoire. So I'll be addressing to it as Côte d'Ivoire. And this was a surprise invasion of Côte d'Ivoire from Ghana. So they can push in a lot of troops into the area. They cross the western border and get in really easily and without much resistance. The people try to resist against Ghana's imperialism, but it's not really working. Then Ghana starts a campaign called Operation Yamoussoukro. If you're not familiar with the word Yamoussoukro, it's the name of the capital of Côte d'Ivoire over here. And Ghana want to form a spearhead into Yamoussoukro and capture it for themselves. So they have large amounts of troops go straight in a spearhead towards Yamoussoukro and they capture the capital of Côte d'Ivoire. Eventually, they can push more strongly and consistently, and they try to cut them off from their largest cities over here, and they manage to cut them off from most of their major cities. Not cut them off, like invade the major cities. And basically, all of this eastern part of Côte d'Ivoire is captured. The people try to fight a bit more. Côte d'Ivoire lose their coastline and they lose access to countries like Burkina Faso, who may supply them with military aid or with humanitarian aid. And then Ghana cut them off from Mali. I don't think Mali had something to do with them. And then they start pushing towards cutting them off from Guinea, and they cut off the most important humanitarian aid area between Côte d'Ivoire and Guinea. So after some more pushing and cutting them off fully from Guinea and making some encirclements, the rest of Côte d'Ivoire surrendered to Ghana. And in this peace treaty, guys, Côte d'Ivoire is fully annexed into Ghana. And then Ghana shift their eye position east into Togo. They declare war on the Republic of Togo. And then almost immediately, troops from Ghana cross the eastern border into Togo, eventually surrounding their capital and capturing it. And after a couple more months of invading, this is what Togo looks like after 2 months of invasion, after losing their capital. And after that long, they just surrender to Ghana. And you know the drill. In this peace treaty, Togo is fully annexed into Ghana. A couple months later, Ghana decide to declare war on Burkina Faso. Immediately after their declaration of war, Morocco, Egypt, and South Africa announced their support for Ghana and they say how countries should be more united in Africa. And as 3 of the major players of the African Union, they declare their support for Ghana. Personally, South Africa, as a leading nation on the continent, South Africa could be a valuable ally, offering military and economic support for mutual influence across Africa. That's what one of South Africa's main ambassadors announced. quote, Morocco says, as a North African power with strong ties to Europe and the Arab world, Morocco could provide strategic support to Ghana's ambitions. And Egypt also declares, Egypt, with its significant military strength and influence in the African Union, could align with Ghana to increase its influence in sub-Saharan Africa. So Ghana are starting to feel good about this as they start their incursion into Ghana. Troops flood in to the north and to the west from the east and from the south, and they make a solidified front into Burkina Faso. Usually countries don't announce like their support for countries that are going imperialist and declaring war on others, but there are some countries that do that, you know. And then more troops flood into southern Burkina Faso, and then troops arrive really close to the capital of Ouagadougou, and at the end, Ouagadougou is captured. The people try to capture it back, but after a solidified front is made here, nothing much can be reconquered. After a couple more months of fighting, Burkina Faso are only surrounded by Mali and Niger, who aren't really good internally, so they're not supplying aid to them, and nothing can pass through the Saharan desert, and Burkina Faso at the end is forced to surrender. And as always, in this peace treaty, Burkina Faso is fully annexed into Ghana. It's not a really good thing to be completely annexing stuff, but you know. And something I should do more during my videos is showing how big these countries get. So look at this Ghana currently. It's not even the end of the video, but look at this Ghana compared to Europe or compared to the United States. Wow, it's really big. Almost comparable. I think it's as big as Alaska. Obviously, Alaska is too big in this map. This Ghana is right next to the equator, so that's why it's smaller on the Mercator projection. Then Ghana secretly signed a pact with Nigeria to invade Benin together. And this pact states that Nigeria is allowed to invade all the area beyond Porto Novo and the city of Porto Novo as well as one of the capitals of Benin. And Ghana invades all the west of the country, and they also get the capital of Cotonou. So here's their plan. And as they declare war on Benin, Brazil, India, and Turkey announced their support for Ghana, with each of them respectively saying, Brazil, with its cultural and historical ties to Africa and growing interest in South-South cooperation, might support Ghana for mutual economic and diplomatic gains. Turkey has been expanding its influence in Africa through economic investments and military cooperation, making it a good ally for Ghana. India has growing interests in Africa, particularly in trade and energy. It will support Ghana in exchange for access to resources and strategic partnerships. So there are 3 countries that announced their support for Ghana, and I guess Nigeria as well along the way. And the invasion begins with troops from Ghana crossing west and surrounding the capital of Cotonou, and then troops from Nigeria coming from the east and surrounding the capital of Porto Novo, cutting off Benin's access to the sea. After days of fighting, both capitals are captured. And then troops flood in from both sides into the poor country of Benin, and they jointly create a spearhead to cut off northern Benin from southern Benin. A few important cities are captured along the way, and then the southern part collapses. Only a bit of humanitarian aid is coming through Niger into Benin, so it's not really helping, and there isn't a really good supply line, so the supply line is cut and the rest of Benin falls apart and it surrenders to Ghana and Nigeria. And in this peace treaty, Benin is split between Nigeria and Ghana, except there is a bit of a border dispute over here with Ghana's statement as they push troops over to this whole area, but Nigeria says that they should split split it along the line that they've chosen before, and so they both claim this territory to themselves, making them have a bit of disagreements, but Nigeria ends up being somewhat of an ally towards Ghana anyway. Right after that war, Ghana pushed their military all the way to the west of the country as they declare war on, you guessed it, Liberia. And right after this declaration of war, China announced their support for Ghana. Given China's interest in Africa for resources and strategic partnerships, China will support Ghana in exchange for favorable trade deals and resource access. And Ghana greatly accept this. And troops all around the west border cross into Liberia, and they push into the territory deep into the cores as they don't face much resistance. But then huge horde of Liberian people managed to push them back to their border at one point, and Ghana's military was not expecting that much retaliation, but then they push them back slowly, and they do it more carefully than they've done it before. Liberia is a country with a lot of hope, and they actually got formed by American slaves that managed to run away from the US and form an American colony there and live there. That's the history. But troops from Ghana flood into the country again, and they try to push them back. They managed to get a bit of the coast back, but after Ghana cut them off, they tried doing something in the core, but then they get cut off again and they surrender to Ghana. But the rest of Liberia still stands strong. They got cut away from Guinea, which hurt them a lot, and they also got cut away from Sierra Leone, and troops surround the capital area, eventually capturing Monrovia, and Liberia surrenders. And again, in this peace treaty, Liberia is completely annexed by Ghana. And after that, Ghana declared war on Sierra Leone. And after that declaration of war, Russia come out and announce Russia has been increasing its influence in Africa and see an alliance with Ghana as a way to extend its reach in West Africa. So that's what they say. It's a bit like imperialistic, but you know what else is? All of Ghana. And immediately troops flood into eastern Sierra Leone, capturing major cities along the way, and they make like actual spearheads to capture the major cities, whilst also cutting them off from their coastline and trying to stop Guinea from giving Sierra Leone supplies. Guinea then announced their support for Sierra Leone and start a coalition to stop expansion and imperialism, especially from Ghana. Ghana see this as an act of war and note this on their little notepad. And in continuation to this war, there's nothing much that Sierra Leone's capital was captured, and there's nothing much Guinea could do to save Sierra Leone. They lose all their coastline and their borders with other countries, and they surrender. In this peace treaty, all of Sierra Leone is annexed into Ghana, and Ghana cut off all their ties and heavily sanction Guinea. They call Guinea a major enemy and start a maritime block of it. They say that all countries that support Guinea in this conflict will too be heavily sanctioned by Ghana. So Guinea-Bissau are like, sorry, no, we're not gonna do anything. And Guinea are like, what the hell, dude? Ghana are like, you shot yourself in the foot, buddy. And then after a couple of months of blockade of Guinea, they start to get ready to invade Guinea. But then something happens. Nigeria elect a new president, and this president is also against expansion, so it leaves Ghana's alliance. They get out of it, like they're like bye, so they're just gone from the alliance. And this thing needs now to be addressed. As Nigeria states, this area is Nigerian territory and it should be part of Nigeria, so they're allowed to militarize it. And Ghana are like, no, we have a problem with that. This is Ghana's territory, so you, former ally, are not allowed to militarize it. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Nigeria, let's call them purple, start militarizing the area as they call it theirs. And as you may know, Ghana is not really good at diplomacy, and they don't want to like set up a compromise, like a border that splits them in the middle maybe, or them allowing both countries to militarize the area. They're just like, no, this is an act of aggression and you are just like Guinea. And so they color them as dark blue, like the enemy. And then they look at this, they're like, wait, they invaded Ghana's territory. They invaded our territory. This is not theirs. And so they call this a proper act of war, act of invasion into Ghana's territory. And then Guinea threatened to join this war, and like most of Ghana's allies are like, if Guinea joins this war, we're gonna join this war too, when it's gonna turn into major war, so maybe don't do that. So Guinea are like, sorry, and they just stop expanding this idea. And Nigeria, they've been prepping for this. So, and they knew Ghana very well, so they can already start pushing into Benin's old territory and like helping the people, promising them for land. That's what the UK did in the 1948s. And they also go into Togo's land, and then Ghana are like, oh hell no. So they recruit people from all along the border areas, and they tell them to fight, and they tell them that supply chains are coming towards them. They also conscript people from all along this western border here, and they tell the people to connect with each other. So the really close ones try to connect with each other. One of them connects with the actual Ghana country, and they make a small surrounding that gets killed. Ghana prioritizes surrounding large amounts of troops and killing them, and as well as reconnecting with some recruitations that are close to the border. They make some pretty big encirclements and wipe them off all around the area and try their best to push out these Nigerian and rebel forces, I guess. But then a large amount of troops from all these areas with a lot of recruitable populations come and push almost all of Nigeria's push back. A lot of the pushes manage to reconnect with each other and try to make small surroundings with the area. There are some that are isolated, and a lot more than just that pop up along the area when they see that they're gonna get saved, and they all start connecting with each other and making pushes. And there's a big one in the center that vows to connect with all other ones. There are a couple that also touch the border with Nigeria. They are told not to push into Nigerian territory. They are told to wait until the actual supply forces will come, and they will help them get to Nigeria. And a lot of areas are getting cut off and wiped, and up here there's a lot happening. This big push managed to connect with Ghana proper, and then they start pushing off the rest of Nigeria's pushes, and they manage to regain this border dispute area for themselves. After months of fighting, it looks like this again. And now it's time for Ghana to shine, and they have long awaited this moment to finally be able to kill Nigeria. Kill is a big word, but you know. Then they get close to Lagos. They see a huge amount of population of people, but then they capture it, and then Nigeria are like, what? And capital's gone. There's a lot of aid coming. Cameroon are not that fond of Nigeria. Chad can't do anything. They're pretty much isolated. Niger as well, but a bit of humanitarian aid passes through both these countries. Cameroon then ratifies their permission for humanitarian aid for Nigeria. So these three countries can supply Nigeria with humanitarian aid, but then Ghana can push deeper into Nigeria. They make a big encirclement here in the south and wipe out lots of troops, and then they walk across the area, cut Nigeria off from their coastline, and then they start invading them along the border with Cameroon. Cameroon are like, okay, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore, until they're completely cut off from Nigeria. And then some more pushes occur over here, and they make some encirclements and some more encirclements, and a lot of troops are gone, a lot of casualties. Chad is cut off from Nigeria, and they start some big spearheads. Yeah, I don't know how they can do this to Africa's biggest economy, but they can make some big thick spearheads and cut off the north from the south. The north is basically the Sahara Desert, so there isn't much to do up here in the north. So after a big invasion, the government are like, you know what, the government in exile over here in the north, they're like, you know what, we can't do this anymore, we're not gonna win anyway, so they surrender to Ghana. Alright, and in this peace treaty, all of Nigeria is completely annexed into Ghana. And after long years of assimilation, Nigeria declared war on Mali. After announcing that they're going to be declaring war on Mali, they haven't done it yet, but because first they're waiting if someone wants to support them, and after announcing their declaration of war on Mali, France go like, woohoo. They're like, we also want to fix stability in that area. Fix, also known as colonialism, but let's call it fix then. And Mali are like, oh no. Yes, terrorist activity is going on there, but Mali can still defend themselves a bit. And with French aid, Ghana pushed more into Mali's non-desert area, and they start a spearhead into Bamako, the capital, and they actually capture it, and they make a large surrounding here. And Mali's like real military, they're completely done for right now. And now it's just the terrorist activities that are going in here. Like, you see a purple activity happening over here in the north, a yellow one in the east, pink one along the Mauritanian border, which kind of means they're probably also in Mauritania, but we know them that they're here, an orange one along the center. After they all declare their independence from Mali, leaving Mali stuck with just a couple of provinces and cities and a tiny little military to fight off the rest of Ghana, Mali is cooked. This is mostly desert, but there are a couple of cities along the way. The pink country invades beyond their borders into a bit of Mali that still exists. The purple country does so as well as the orange country and the yellow country. At the end, it looks a bit like this, and Mali agreed to peace negotiations with these rebellions, and they all have their own respective peace treaties with Mali, leaving Mali just cooked. Mali's tried to meet for peace with Ghana, and at the end, Ghana are like, you know what, fine, and this is their peace treaty. And then Ghana declare war on the orange country. Should I have it as blue or orange? Orange is better to represent it, you know. Troops flood into this country. They capture their little capital area, and this country is done for as well. Algeria see that this land is kind of up for grabs, so they grab a bit of it, as well as Niger, although they have their political instability themselves as well, and the rest falls over to Ghana. And in their peace treaty, it's pretty straightforward. Ghana just completely annex it to themselves. They then declare war on the pink country, and they cross into the south area. Mali see that this land is up for grabs, so they just grab a huge chunk of it. The purple country does the same, as well as Mauritania, leaving only like this panhandle for them to capture, which they do. And in this peace treaty, Ghana look really weird. Ew. Well, they then declare war on the orange country, and immediately Algeria want to do the same thing that Mauritania did, not the thing that they did earlier. And they capture this entire chunk of land land that was essentially just up for grabs. Mali also do that a little bit, but they need to fix their political instability first, and so they can't do that many chunks as they'd wish for. They want everything back, by the way, except this, and this that is lost forever. And this is what this country looks like. But then a lot of troops just cross in and obliterate the entire area. And in this peace treaty, they're just fully annexed by the areas they invaded. And sadly, Mali and Ghana only have 2 years left of non-aggression pact from the peace treaty. So sadly, Ghana won't invade them now. Sadly, they have to invade Mali. I'm saying sadly because the border is gonna look really ugly. So, but first, Mauritania get their fair share, as well as Algeria, as well as Mali proper. And this is what it looks like. Really weird borders in Africa, hello. But at the end, you know that it's gonna be completely annihilated and obliterated. And this is what it is. And this is the peace treaty. Basically a really weird Mali and a really weird Mauritania now existing. Algeria has a couple of moo boobs, if I can call that. You know, like the things where you get milk from the cows. They have that happening right now. But anyway, Mali is invaded and Algeria want their fair share. Ghana explicitly said that they cannot get their fair share out of anywhere beyond this border. So this is all they could get. And this is what it looks like. And what can you do when you're completely surrounded? Cry about it. And then they're cut into two. This area is obliterated. It's not this as quick as I make it look like, but think that this is the desert and they're actually having to fight in the desert. Yeah, that looks bad and sad. And let's take a look at this peace treaty. What were you expecting? Yeah, Mali is just fully part of Ghana. Really weird. And after this war, there appears to be a lot of tension along this border. It kind of needs a massage. This border, that looks better. Well, if you don't know what I mean, it means war. Let me explain. So a couple of dudes from Guinea were monitoring the border, all around the border, like all around, like literally all around, to ensure safety of everyone. And then a dude from Ghana crosses the border, and then, but it wasn't like war or anything. He just crossed the border thinking that, like, if they were doing the lineup, then they would have to do the lineup as well, right? So he just went over to the wrong side of the border, and Guinea told literally everyone, causing people to start shooting. And so troops all over Guinea push hard all across the border with Ghana, and they have their little operation ready for the day that they were gonna start this war, and it is to cut off Sierra Leone, cut off their coast, and start invading from the inside. Ghana was like, what the hell, we're still assimilating, and then they pull out their guns and start shooting all across the area and finish off the Guinean expansion across the border, except for the Sierra Leone part, which rebels entirely and protests for their independence, although no one's in the mood for protests, and this protest is strongly crushed from both sides. At the end, there is no more boom boom boom. I mean, yes, there is a lot of boom boom boom. There is no more protesting, and there is no more light blue. There is a huge stalemate on the border until Ghana seemed to find the perfect area where there are not many troops, this one. And so they push really strong. They put like almost half of their military into this, and then they push hard from this side, and then they cut off Guinea from itself, I guess. And this eastern side is completely shot, like murdered, like killed, like hurt. And Ghana start Operation Conakry, which is capture the capital of Guinea of Conakry, and they capture it. After the capital is captured, they start pushing into Western Guinea and Eastern Guinea, of course. And Eastern Guinea capitulates after a lot of fighting, and then Western Guinea, after being cut off from Senegal, and Sierra Leone also capitulates. Senegal protests were like, why do Ghana get to do stuff like this? Like, it's so messed up. But no one listens. And in this peace treaty, all of Guinea is annexed into Ghana. And they have so many allies, bro. What's that, 9 countries? And they're all so strong. Like, we've got Brazil, we've got Russia, we've got China, we've got India, we've got Turkey, we've got France, we've got Egypt, we've got South Africa, and the weakest is Morocco, which is one of the strongest in Africa and a really strong country. So really good for Ghana. And after that, Ghana announced their ambitions in Guinea-Bissau. And Guinea-Bissau, we're expecting them to go after Senegal, Guinea-Bissau's ally, and the country that's been protesting against them. And they also called Senegal an enemy, but they didn't. Senegal have more and more protests and try their best to popularize the coalition that Nigeria had started forming a couple of years ago before they got obliterated. But no one seems to listen, and Guinea-Bissau is capitulated. And in this peace treaty, Guinea-Bissau is completely annexed into Ghana, Ghana's empire. And Senegal say, this is ridiculous, no one's stopping this. So you know what happens? They get stuck into a loop. No, but seriously, this is a loop. Bro, look at the world. It looks like a frappuccino. Wow, 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 wow. But seriously, Senegal declare war on Ghana. They're like, yeah, try to get us. We've protected ourselves so much, and we are stopping you from advancing into us. Oh wait, they declared war on them, so it's more like this. How dumb are they? Why would they declare war on such a big country? Idiots. Well, they've got somewhat of a push into Sierra Leone. Well, they've got somewhat of a push into Guinea-Bissau, and they also start a push into Guinea proper, and they also fortify their borders with a couple of kilometers. And luckily, Ghana had a lot of troops in here, and they managed to get out of the bubble, and they cut them off. And this is what happens when you declare war on a big country, buddy. And then Ghana's troops immediately flood into Senegal, and then they cut them off thanks to the Gambia's existence. The Gambia are like, no, we're supporting our ally, so don't you try something funny. And so they have their Operation the Gambia. So they sail along the Gambia River, also making a couple of claims over here and here and here. And they capture the capital of Gambia, and Gambia is gone. They also start an excursion over here to the south, and they capture all of the south, and then they link up their little claims, and Senegal is done for. They make some big surroundings, they cut them off from a lot of places, and then Senegal surrenders. And in this peace treaty, all of Senegal is incorporated into Ghana. And let's make them back red, because it's really weird to have them as blue. And now I'll draw Ghana's flag on this. Okay guys, here's our beautiful flag. I should have made it a bit smaller, but it's fine, right? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love y'all so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!